Hey there and welcome. Whether you are a developer, an operations engineer, or a data enthusiast, understanding metrics is a key to managing systems. It involves improving performance and ensuring everything is running smoothly. Today, we are diving in the fascinating world of metrics, exploring what makes them meaningful and uncovering the different types of metrics you'll encounter in observability. Let's start with the basics, like what exactly are metrics and why do they even matter? At their core, metrics are quantitative measures that gives us insight into the performance and health of a system. Think of them like measurements on a dashboard. Each one of them, each one helps us to answer some specific questions. Like each measurement you see on the dashboard, they help us answer some particular questions, such as is the website loading slowly, or are there any errors in my application, or is the server under too much load. Metrics are typically stored as time series data. That is, they represent values at different points in time. By analyzing the trends over time, you can spot any anomaly, discrepancies, and you can optimize performance and forecast potential issues. Now, let's take a closer look at the four most common type of metrics. So, like which you'll encounter in your day-to-day work activities. The common ones are counters, gauges, histograms, and then the summaries. Each type, they serve a different purpose and they help to monitor different aspects of your system. So we cannot be limited to one. Each of them have a specific use case to them. First up, we have counters. So a counter is a metric that only increases, or you can reset it to zero. So it's great for tracking things like number of requests made to a web server, or the number of errors, or maybe even the number of tasks completed. So counter always reflect the total count over a period of time. For instance, for example, if we take, if your web server handles 1,000 requests over and among all the 1,000 requests, five of them fail. So you would see those values in the counter, which help you to monitor that how much traffic came in and how many requests are failing. Next, we have gauges. So unlike counter, gauges can go up and down. They are not limited to just increasing numbers. They can go up or they can go come down. So they are perfect for monitoring values that fluctuate, such as CPU usage, memory usage, or the temperature of your server. Now, gauges allow you to track values that are constantly changing and give you a snapshot at any particular instant of time. So seeing your server's CPU usage jump from maybe a 50% or 75% or maybe a 90% or so during peak hours. Then we have histograms, which are slightly more complex. They capture the distribution of values over time. So, for example, you could use a histogram to measure the response times of a web application. The metric doesn't record just one value, they track over a range, and the cumulative score or grouping values into buckets happen. So instead of just tracking an average response time, the histogram allows you to see how many requests fell within a specific range or response time range, giving you a more detailed insight into your system performance. And lastly, we have summaries. So summaries are similar to histograms in some aspect, but they focus more on providing pre-calculated percentiles, like 95th percentile response time. They are helpful when you need a quick snapshot of your system's performance without dealing with the full distribution. So summaries give you insight, like 95% of the requests are being handled under this much time duration, say 200 milliseconds, which helps you quickly tell that okay, your system is doing well and healthy, or if something is not as per your thought process or as per what you expected, you can just cross check and look into the summary part. Now that we understand different types of metrics involved, let's try to make more sense out of the things we have covered. So one key factor of metrics is labels. So labels are basically key value pairs that helps us to add context to our metrics. For example, you might label a metric with, say, server name equals to maybe some service. You might provide a specific name to the service, say user service or product service, or maybe you might even define the environment label. So environment equals to production or environment equals to dev. So that way you can label whatever metrics you are visualizing. So that it's not just random data, but you have clarity on what data the metric is referring to. This way you break down and you filter your metrics by these labels, making it easier to analyze specific services or specific environments. Another important concept revolving around metrics is aggregation. So aggregation allows you to roll up multiple values into a single number, like summing up or maybe calculating an average over time. So those are a few aggregation methods which helps us to see visualize data over a given period of time. Like maybe, for example, CPU usage over time, or maybe number of requests over time. So this provides clarity, especially when you are monitoring large systems. Now let's talk about the most useful metrics that every system should track. Some essential metrics include the error rates, which track how often things go wrong in your system. If you see a sudden spike in error rates, it's a clear indication that something is broken. Something somewhere is broken. Next up, we have CPU usage. So monitoring CPU usage helps us to ensure that your server isn't overloaded. A sudden spike in CPU usage can lead to slow performance, and ultimately you can assume that the system will eventually crash if the same load continues. Then memory usage is also critical. So high memory consumption might indicate that memory leaks are there, or there are some inefficient processes running, which can lead to out of memory crashes. And last is the latency. Latency is a measure of how long a particular request is taking, like from one point to the another. So high latency can signal issues in your maybe network connection or the infrastructure, and how endpoints are connected. So that's a wrap for today's deep dive into metrics. We have covered the key types of metrics, which are like counters, gauges, histograms, and summaries. And by leveraging the power of metrics, you can ensure that your application is running smoothly and proactively address any issues which you may be critical later. Remember, metrics are not just numbers, they tell you the story of your system, what's going on within your system. So keep track and stay curious and use metrics to make informed decision. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.